The headline goes like this from Michael Pena of The Ringer, which I found to be quite fascinating. Luka Doncic isn't just the MVP favorite. He's the most improved player in the NBA. His byline starts like this. The Mavericks star has reached a staggering level of greatness this season, taking a big enough leap on both ends to deserve double awards consideration. Now, here is some of the case that Mr. Pena makes for Luka Doncic.
I'm listening.
His league-leading scoring average is up 5.9 points after 3 straight seasons in which he sat around 28 points every night. His usage rate, though, is only up 1% from last season. So he's scoring 6 more points a game this year while only having to increase his usage rate by 1 percentage point.
So we're just going to talk about an increase and not talk about where it was?
I mean, it's still ridiculously high.
Yeah.
I mean, his usage rate is over 38%. That is bananas.
Anyways, but yes, it is incredible that he has added that additional scoring. Some of that is being more efficient at the free throw line. So obviously that would not be an increase that shows up in usage rate because that is simply, those dead ball scoring, right? When the clock is stopped scoring. Yeah. So I do think that some of that is what we're talking about. But anyways, that is not my biggest complaint about all of this. So continue, please.
So that doesn't move Reg in that way. Maybe this will move you. His player efficiency rating, his PER,
yes,
is up 7.3 points from 25.1 to a whopping 32.4, which would be the second highest PER in the history of this league.
Clearly incredible. Clearly, you're not going to find a way to get me to say that that's bad. That's clearly incredible work for him to be like this level of good in these metrics that you're showing me, particularly when we talk about player efficiency rating. I mean, like, it's there. It's clearly there. Continue.
His true shooting percentage is 4.8 percentage points higher than it was a year ago, and his 59% inside the arc with a lower dependency on the three-point line and a major bump in free throw attempts.
There you go. Like, free throws are going to help true shooting as well, but I do think that it is worth pointing out, as the 940 points out, he's finally quit jacking up threes on dumb possessions. So good inside the arc, absolutely. Like, using the heft of his body in the ways that some people have talked about it, utilizing that to his advantage. And obviously, it's not like he's just pure fat, right? Like, he has a stoutness to him. But he's utilizing that size advantage that he has as a 6'8" guard,
6'7"
guard,
yeah.
To then get in there, get guys on his back and muscle them, but also utilize his unique pace, where he's not going fast, but he's going right as fast as he needs to go, and his wittiness, his basketball wit, to get guys going in all sorts of different ways, pull up shots when you're not expecting it, when you're expecting him to take another dribble, that shot goes up, that floater goes up. He's fantastic at those things, and he's finding himself really, flourishing and utilizing those things more. So yeah, no, I think he absolutely deserves all of this praise. Anything else that we've got to, shower in this case?
Yeah, before I get to that real quick, one of the things that you mentioned, you talked about the pace of the play, and I think that's one of the most fascinating parts about Luka's game, is that he controls the game however he wants to. He can manipulate pace of play. He can obviously diagnose defenses and be able to and probe defenses in ways that it's got you on your heels and having you make decisions that either is advantageous to him as an offensive player or is going to put his teammates in the best spots to be able to make open shots. And that is one of the things I marvel most about his game. Now, here's something very interesting, talking about some of the driving when it comes to Luka Doncic going to the basket. This according to Second Spectrum. Among the 367 cases in Second Spectrum's database of players who've recorded at least 500 drives in a season, no player has generated more points per direct play than the 1.23 that Doncic does right now. Last year,
1.23 points per possession.
Per possession.
Gotcha.
Per drive.
Oh.
Per drive.
Well, yeah.
Yes. Last year, he finished at 1.15, which was third out of 70.
Yeah, man. Like, he has that level of gravity to where he's been efficient in his own scoring. Like, when he drives, he's going to go score. in addition to that, we all understand the incredible passing that he has, right? Where when he drives and he kicks out of that, we've seen the booty butt naked shots that are getting got by his teammates. In some part because people don't trust their teammates, in some part because they're like, especially we don't trust them compared to if we have to try and guard Luka, we want to guard Luka, and you can try and do that other stuff. And then obviously just like you're passing out to 3-pointers almost exclusively. You're not passing out to 2s nearly as much, although the pick and roll is immaculate. But yeah, I think
and particularly devastating with Christian Wood we've seen so far
100%.
this year.
So I think all of those things factor in. Yeah, I mean, he has been incredible, and I don't think there's any reason to doubt any of that. He has been incredible. In fact, to the point where you're like, you wish he didn't have to be so incredible, but he is. He really is.
Now, obviously, some of the biggest difference we've seen in his game this year is what he's been doing on the defensive end. And what he has done in terms from a steal perspective. He's a top 10 steals guard in the league.
And right I think I attribute that to like how smart he is basketball wise. But like the way that he passes, he's utilizing it on the defensive end. We've seen him get into passing lanes so well and just kind of poach passes that way to get steals.
And that's been one of the deficiencies that we've talked about Luka Doncic in his game, is that whether or not he can be eventually a two-way player. And he has shown much more willingness last year and now obviously going into this year being better on the defensive end. But obviously, as this story is constructed and this piece is put together, very well done by Michael Pena, by the way. And when you start going through the pick and roll numbers and some of the things from an efficiency standpoint,
yeah, we can just go on and on and on. In fact, I feel like some people might be getting sick of how we are just singing the praises of Luka Doncic.
I mean, he does deserve it as the MVP favorite, but the way that we craft this now, last year, Ja Morant was the NBA's most improved player.
This is my complaint with this. All of these things are true. Luka has been so much improved. He supposed to be. Luka was a top 5 pick who really should have been a top 1, 2, or 3 pick.
No, the one.
Right? Like
we the ones.
And everybody had the expectation. In fact, to the point where some people were saying that he was this before he was this. And like, I think it's fair to say that he's there now. So it's that's all Gucci. Mm-hmm. But we were saying that he was this before he even got to this. The expectation has been there. He has been at least starting this season, right? The MVP front rubber for how many, or at least in that MVP odds conversation, how many seasons? 2, 3 seasons now?
At least the last 2.
You gonna give that man the most improved player? Like, why? What are we doing? The most improved player in spirit, at least in my perspective. Tell me I'm wrong. Truckwreck.com text line 877-881-1053. I'm okay with that. But in spirit, the most improved player has been about, hey, you were a player that was average or what have you, and you took an incredible leap, and we're trying to reward that. The most improved player is not supposed to be for great players that we expect to be great going on that development curve. Like, I don't think that that's what the spirit of this award was. And I really hated it that last year they gave that award to Ja Morant, because Ja Morant was a number 2 overall pick. He was just going on the development curve that is to be expected. Now, to be fair, development isn't linear, and you can't always assume that development will be there. But that's what we do. When we draft a number 1 pick, you expect them to be good, or else what do? We call them busts, right? Like, I'm not giving you an award for avoiding being a bust. And of course, that's not exactly what's happening here with Luka, but you get my point. It's not for this class of guys. That's not what this award is for. And I really do hate that we've gotten to that point, because now we are devaluing or not giving an opportunity to award some of these guys in the mid-level, which I think this is the spirit of this award, is awarding those guys in the mid-level who have shown great improvement that was not anticipated.
And I do agree with you on the spirit of the rule, the spirit of the award, the intention of the award is to reward guys who have shown drastic improvement of their games, who did not necessarily expect to have those kinds of leaps in their games. Like Julius Randle from a couple years ago. He had a phenomenal year for the New York Knicks, and you saw the improvement that he made in the totality of his game.
Shout it to the 682, said, F it. Give it all to Luka. All right, I respect that.
See, but here's the thing. Here's where I'll play devil's advocate with that.
All right.
Maybe there's some reimagining here of what improved looks like, because if you look at the numbers, especially if we talk about the efficiencies, and yes, he does hate Luka Doncic, 469.
It's not going to stick. You think it's going to stick? It's not.
No, it's not going to stick. But the idea being that the numbers and the resume that Luka Doncic in particular, because this is the case study here, that is a player that you look at and say, wow, those are drastically improved numbers, to the point where the effect and the leap that he has taken and what it has meant for this team, you could make a case that he is the most improved player, because what he has to do on a night-to-night basis and what the numbers prove that he is doing, it shows that if he had not taken that improvement, where would this team possibly be given what they have right now? Sure. And maybe the same could have been said for John Morant last year and the marked improvement that he had. That's the only way I would couch some of that in terms of, arguing that on the other side.
And again, I'm not going to try and knock
I agree
down
with
any
you.
of these folks, right? But this is my thing, is now we're getting to the point where we're simply looking at the name of the award. How often do we do this thing where we get sick and we argue about why in the NFL is the MVP award
a quarterback award?
Right? Yeah, man. Why are we listening to this quarterback award? Why aren't we giving it to, because look, we get into this debate about most valuable player, but in the NBA, I think, or in any of these leagues really, there's the award in the name of the award, but then there's also kind of the popular understanding, the societal,
what the intention should be for that award.
The societal understanding of the ways that we do. Let's talk about the MVP award in the NBA. There's not an actual rule that you have to play a certain amount of games to qualify for the MVP award. Except a lot of the people that vote on it have kind of a de facto amount of games that you need to play, because there's a kind of an understanding that this is what we're looking for when we're looking for this award. Name of the award be damned. This is what we're trying to reward. And in that same way, for the longest time, I believed that the most improved award, obviously it says most improved, and we could just go who made the biggest jump on numbers, but the thought process, the intention behind it was, let's reward these players that somewhat in the middle have made a big impressive leap from maybe a player that was not going to be a big portion or foundational piece of a team to closer to that. So I just feel at this point we are further bastardizing, and yes, I will use such a strong word, this award. And look, if you want to do that and make it a more little award, that's fine. But can we find something to appreciate those other players? Because I do kind of hate that idea. I really do.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's what the intention of the award should be, is to reward guys who you did not necessarily see coming and having that kind of improvement, to be able to reward that hard work and effort that they have put into their game. But nonetheless.
Also, look, man, I don't know, because a lot of these players, the best players with awards, some of it is obviously you want it for pride, right? These dudes are huge competitors. Some of it is because, look, man, there's stipulations in your contract.
There's money behind this. Absolutely.
Does Luka Doncic have something in his contract that says that most improved player trips anything? Because I have a strong feeling that he doesn't.
No. It's funny, real quick before we go to break. You remember, what was it, maybe 3-4 years ago?
What is it?
When Klay Thompson didn't get named to the All-NBA. I think it was the third. He had to make at least the third team All-NBA to trigger some kind of, clause in his deal where he would get a bunch of money for it, and he didn't make it. And the stink was, you got all these, writers and voters out here who did not vote Klay as part of the All-NBA team, or one of the 3 All-NBA teams. He lost money because of that. So
if y'all give the most improved player to the MVP, I'm gonna fight somebody. I'm gonna lose my mind. I was about to say a cuss word. I'm gonna lose my mind.
Oh man.